Hello. Alright, trying to be concise. Say the main components of this game are energy, materials, and logistics. I'm going to begin with energy. All early game energy is wind, and then you go to solar panels. For wind, I would use wind turbines instead of power poles. Then I would get solar panel kind of early, and I would build a dedicated production line for it. And shortly thereafter, you're going to want a distribution system for it. A key side note, do not worry about making your initial planet pretty, and don't worry about building all your main and expansive production lines there. Your main planet is to get you to basically green cubes technology, which there lets you get off of your home planet. The reason you don't want to prioritize your home planet is the first place you're going to want to build a Dyson Sphere, which is needed, is a system that has an inner planet that can be encompassed by the Dyson Sphere. And that is because it will receive 100% reception at all times of day. To find that star system, you could go to Bright Systems, why am I invisible? Why is nothing working? Okay, anyways. I don't think I'll restart for that. But anyways, you look at bright stars. Blues are a good place to start. You want to find something a little bright, but you are going to get enough energy off of anything like 1.5 or higher that I wouldn't stress it too much. Go to those systems. I think this is the easiest way. And as soon as you get in the system, don't need to land, you hit Y. Then you go to add new layer, and you adjust the radius of the sphere back and forth. If it goes red more than once, all of them are going to go red once because they intersect the initial layer that you can't get rid of. Or at least you won't. Okay, you can't get rid of it. But anyways, if it goes red more than once, that means there is a planet that can be encompassed in that sphere. That's where you want to find, as patient and as dedicated you want to find the brightest star that meets those criteria. There you build your Dyson Sphere, and there you do not work on that planet. You work from probably the second planet to build your rocket launchers and your rail ejectors. That first planet, you're going to cover the whole thing probably eventually in ray receivers. And that is primarily for photons and secondarily for energy, because you're going to export that energy. This is geared towards people playing the game like a long time and thoroughly. You can find basic tutorials everywhere. I'm trying to teach the stuff I wish I'd known sooner. And that is a big one. Where to build first Dyson Sphere and energy distribution. All right, but to cover some basics, you get the solar panels, and you're gonna initially just surround. Anytime you need a planet's resources, you just make a ring of solar panels. It's probably the easiest way, and you make more and more rings. Each ring's a little under 200 solar panels. So you're going to make your logistics station that has the solar panels to distribute. You're going to want it to be able to ship out 500 or so. To do that, you adjust the minimum load of vessels to 50%, and then you lower the capacity to whatever. Alright, so you're going to want to ship about 500. Your vessels get upgraded in capacity throughout the game. So adjust your minimum load of vessels to incorporate that amount, as close to 500 as you can get. After you get bored of solar panels, or you just wanted to do something else to mix it up, coal energy isn't that bad. And you do not, I'll go over this a little more later, but you do not need to worry about burning out resources, except for unipolar magnet. Coal energy, you can do a very simple setup. It burns half a coal per machine per second. So with the initial belts, you get 6 per second, so that means you can build 12 machines before the line's drained. Later, you can build 60, which is 30 long. It's very easy setup, and it gives you decent power. It requires a little bit more than solar panels, so I don't really know which one's easier. It's just preference, I guess. Anyways, more on energy. Avoid satellite. All right, avoid these things. They use energy, and they're rarely necessary. You only really want to use them for very dense builds. I'll go into some of those later. Another important thing, planets that you believe that you're going to develop, and there's going to be a Dyson sphere in the system. When you do your solar panel ring, oh god, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find any space on this planet. But when you do your solar panel rings, leave space. So these are exactly 3 solar panels, regular solar panels wide. Begin at the equator and leave space to at least build 5 of these. So you would build the solar panels here. The reason being is if you develop that planet, you're going to want to erase all the solar panels you put in the middle and replace them with these. So if you start on the outside edge, you don't need to erase anything. You can just drop these when you're ready for them. And then if the solar panels really start getting in your way for something else, then you can erase them. And you don't need to erase them all at once. You can erase them as you need the space. It's just a ease of life thing. Another thing about the thermal power plant, don't try to use fuel. You burn so much energy just producing the fuel. Even if you burn the fuel and the hydrogen, coal's way better. Alright, so resources. Materials, I guess, better way of putting it. There's 2 different main construction patterns. There are resources that require, so wherever you're mining the resources, go ahead and do the basic processing there. This distributes your energy demand, and it's easy. So the 2 types are 1 in, or 1 out and 2 in, or 1 in and 1 out. So your 2 in, 1 out, you can share the output line. So you don't need another belt. It's pretty straightforward. I think this is the best setup for quick, and you can build denser setups using lifted belts or shorter runs. But anyways, this lets you power it very easily without doing the stupid satellite things. Looks pretty, and if you use the copy inserters mod, which I recommend probably about the time you're leaving your initial planet, I would begin. It just helps you be a little bit more creative with your placing and understand what you're able to do better, to not use the mod right from the start. But once you need to start dropping hundreds and thousands of these things, get the copy inserters mod to save your joints and whatnot. So this is the setup for 2 ins, 1 out, and this is the setup for 1 in, 1 out. Both of them are very easily powered, and the power poles take very little extra space. If you do want to be dense, you can use satellite things, and you can stack the lines on top of each other. But it's not really needed. I do like density on your home planet, and I do not. Your home planet being whatever. I would recommend your home planet be a tidal locked planet, because I like building on the dark side of the planet. But anyways, don't do your smelting and everything at your home planet. Your home planet, you're going to want to build things that you need to know the status of. So, for example, the endgame is all about building universe matrices. And to know what you need for the universe matrices, it's nice to go and look at the final end products that are required to build those. And so I can get a gauge of everything by just flying over my base, because these are mostly just final end products. And so I can tell what I'm missing pretty quick. All your smelting you do anywhere, drop it down. Smelting doesn't require much power, whatever. Anyways, do not mine unipolar magnets for a long time. And the reason I said resources, or should have said resources are effectively infinite, is veins utilization. This is the best thing to research. Anytime you can grab it, grab it. At the end of the game, there's a lot of things that you can upgrade effectively infinitely. Just do veins. Like, none of it really matters. Move speed, I mean, but can't even upgrade it infinitely. At your own discretion, upgrade everything what you want except for veins utilization. Just do veins utilization as much as you can. Alright, so once you get veins utilization, then you can go mine that unipolar magnet, because it is the only resource that is not really infinite. For mining early game, don't try to squeeze as many miners as possible onto the mining patch, because you're going to develop logistics for those mining patches, and you're going to build smelters to it. You just want to cover every single node on that mining patch. And if you are going to build large processing after that mining patch, leave room to... Actually, no, because once that mining patch drains, just drop a logistics stations on top of it. Build, import whatever you were mining there, and then feed it into that smelting system you have. That way you don't have to rebuild all those smelters, and you can just go grab some... I keep some of every base resource available for just mostly to just fuel my old smelters and stuff. I mean, that's not really that big of a deal. Anyways, yeah, the light coverage, yeah, just make sure you cover everything. Probably use 3 or 4 miners. Logistics. So you're gonna want to, as soon as you have space warping technology, you're gonna want to build dedicated logistics station to ship out everything that you regularly use. And the things that you are always going to want to import at some point are these. So you need dedicated logistics hubs for these and these. Alright, so also your logistics hub, you're going to want to decrease the travel time from those logistics hubs so that you don't, as you get farther and farther from whatever your central hub is, you don't want to have to keep waiting longer and longer for those things to come in. Vessel warp speed helps with that, but what you can do to extend its reach basically is you're going to build on the pole, north or south. I like south pole because it's blue. You're going to build these very things. You're going to drop, this is my center one on the pole. I drop one of these with these items on the south pole. And then I put right next to it, as close as possible, this. And then if it's a big planet that I'm going to build a lot on it, instead of this, I import this. And then I convert it into this with a station right next to it. And then I ship it, distribute it with drones. You do not need to distribute that with drones. You just run a belt from this to this. Gives you your warpers, lets you not have to have as many stations to look through for all your item types. And then any station or planet that I'm going to develop, add a third station. And these are the things I need at those planets. Because initially, when I first get on the planet, I import the energy with energy exchangers, which I'll go over in a second. And actually, these two, I won't even put here. I'll go over that more in a second, but put these 3 here. I'll just go over that right now. So energy, the whole reason I was telling you to get that inner planet is it's going to produce, with continuous reception on the ray receivers, after you build a Dyson sphere, a ton of energy. And then you're going to build this setup. So ignore everything on the right. and even ignore these. On that plant, you're going to build a bunch of these, and you're going to make them 30 long, cause 60 of these drain a line. And you're going to, construction is very poor, all these have to be exactly right. You're going to export to these, your empty accumulators. So it goes in here, then it goes sideways to each of these, all the way down, and then each of these feeds back. You connect a belt that goes all the way back to the start, and then it's just going to run straight into here. You don't need this there. On energy suppliers. On energy consumers, you're going to want a little more complicated setup. You don't need this, but if you don't put these things are going to run at full capacity all the time, and they're just going to burn your accumulators at the highest rate they're able to. If you do this though, you build the chargers also on the same place. They're going to take whatever wasted energy you're burning on your accumulators and put them back into accumulators. And so you need to set this up where it I would just understand the real mechanics that are going on here. So this is taking your charged accumulators, running them in here, and it's dropping out your empty ones. Your empty ones are going over here and charging, but you don't want this system to jam, so you need to take this and you need to make a priority line to the right, and that way it'll use this charged accumulators that you're producing locally, and they'll come over here and it'll use, and then you set this priority line from the right, and then it'll use the ones you produce locally instead of importing new ones. That way, if this thing is full of charged accumulators, this system doesn't jam, because without this it can't release all the charged accumulators, and so this end will stop working. So this is how you import energy, and like you only had to, once you understand how this is working, this is all really easy to do. The thing is though, you're gonna want a lot of these, at least on your energy exporters. On your importers, 10 of these is 450 megawatts. 900 megawatts will power all basic outposts and less. When I first built this base, I was burning like 4 or 5 gigawatts extra, so I had to import a lot. So another thing about the energy distribution thing, to know where you stand on power, you can just go to entire star cluster power, and you can look at your charging power, you can look at your discharging power, and this will tell you if you need to build more energy. As long as you built it correct, this will tell you the status of your system. If you have any of your things jammed, you're gonna lack information here. So you want to build all this stuff correctly. And it's kind of forgiving. I mean, you run out of power, so what? As long as you centralize your main production onto like a couple planets and do all your smelting on the little ones, with those main planets, you can then just look at them on this list. You can look at your main planets and you can just tell their power status. Ursa 1 is one of my main ones, so I can check its power status right now. It's generating 6 and it's discharging 3, which means it's meeting its consumption. This is my recycled, so I would just be burning 3 or 4 whatever gigawatts all the time if I didn't have what I was talking about on the other end, the recycling system. And I didn't even build the recycling system here all the way, because this plant usually burns 7 or 8 gigawatts. I'm just full of some stuff right now, so and my system's fine, so that's all fine. But so yeah, forget home. Okay, so on your production line, this is another part of logistics. Stations, you want to maximize the value of your stations because they take up a lot of space. So each station can support 2 or 3 lines of one type before it starts draining out. So let me find a station that's like working at maximum capacity. If I can. So these are like, this thing needs so much hydrogen. I don't know. This is not a typical station. This thing's doing a lot of work. So you can figure that out once you get to Endgame. Like you want to limit it to 3 of one type, which means to utilize all the ports, you're going to want multiple material types coming into each station. You don't want a station that's just there for iron. You want it there for many different. Actually, I should dump some accumulators into my system. So 3 belts is fine. That's only if it's getting the resources kind of close. I also have fast vessels, so maybe 2 belts is more limiting. But the point is, don't oversaturate your station. And then, let's see here. There's a couple things I recommend on your home system. I like density. For the reason I was stating, you can tell a lot about your system, and you can tell more about your system if you make it dense. So this is turbines. These are all placed as close as they can possibly be placed together, near the equator, and it leaves you a space for a belt. And so no additional space. This is, I don't know, this is like almost 300 turbines a second. I don't know, a lot. Anyways, these are the different, you can pause it and absorb or whatever. These are some very helpful construction techniques, I find, but those aren't really necessary. One I would say much more necessary is your deuterium. Your deuterium, you are going to need so much deuterium. And so this is how you want to build your deuterium in a fashion like this. The key point is you need to resaturate the line. Every time the hydrogen goes through here, it loses 1. So each of this is a 1% decline in the productivity of the next one, basically. So I did the math. 30 is the length you want it between your stations. It's got some flex. You can do 25 to like 30, but 30 is the easier one. So every one of these lines will not jam because it's running directly into this, and no extra hydrogen is introduced unless it won't jam it, which means it's being resaturated from the side, which makes the main line the priority line. So you need to make sure it can free flow, and then you need to resaturate it. There's a lot of different configurations you can do. I like this one. I accidentally, at first I thought I could just, I don't know why I didn't think it through. I thought I could just run directly into the station from here, and then directly out of the station into here, which makes no sense because when this station's full, it'll jam this line. So I lost 2 of my things on every one of my bottom stations. So you need one more space than this if you're trying to make it as dense as possible. You can side feed it, but I like to have smooth edges that I can build against. The powering, this is one of the rare times where it's actually more efficient to use these rather than leaving space for power between all these rows. I believe this is 7 rows, goes 30 long all the way around the planet. There's like 6 or 7, so you can do the math. This place makes a lot of deuterium, a whole lot of deuterium. There was one other. Okay, so I have to travel to a different planet for that, so I'll wait on that. Try to minimize drone usage. Drones take power, belts are free. Seems simple enough there. I think I can start. Technology, I can cover that on the flight. I'm not going to come back here for a tutorial is over, so I'll just do. I like seeing this stuff. Most other people do too, I assume. So this planet burns 1.7 million resources per minute, so it's burning a planet every hour. And that is only possible because I was telling you about veins utilization. Every ore I mine gives me 700. That is correct. I get 700 ores for every one I consume off of a planet. So resources are infinite as long as you don't burn out your unipolar magnets first. So I can almost go to 4 saturated lines of universal matrices. It's a lot. Alright, let's wait. Let me double check, make sure I didn't miss anything from my demo area. So things that take 3 ingredients, if you want to build densely, I recommend finding the point at which you can no longer build a belt in between this stuff, which was right there. So I can no longer build a belt here. I gotta add a space for a belt. Wait, oh. Whatever, I don't care enough, but you can figure that part out. Yeah. Oh, Casimir crystals. Alright, so this is here to remind me about the unipolar magnet. So you're gonna have a lot of excess hydrogen that'll jam your system sometimes. Go ahead and start using that as soon as possible to make Casimir crystals. And you're gonna just make them slowly as soon as possible, so you're gonna store up a buttload of them. And because you're gonna store a buttload of them, go ahead and, as soon as you can, convert them into plane filters. The reason being is Casimir crystals stack to 50, plane filters stack to 200. And so just be accumulating plane filters until you're ready to start making quantum chips. This will make your life so much easier when you have access to quantum chips. You're going to get a burst of research because you've already got all those plane filters, which is the harder part because what I'm about to show you is processors are easy to make. The reason Casimir crystals are annoying is because you need 12 hydrogen per each one, which makes the line desaturate after 6 buildings. And so you got to resaturate the line a lot, which leads to annoying construction. But anyways, you don't really need to do too much oil refining. No, coal is infinite resources. Coal is free, so oil refining is just really for plastic. This is the Casimir. It's being resaturated from both sides and it's being stacked. Yeah, there's a lot of hydrogen coming in from here. Oh, a key part, don't let your energy distribution system fill up on accumulators because it'll jam. That'll practice and trial and error, whatever, will teach you the right way of doing all that. Go ahead and head to my processor format, because I think it's very, very helpful. Like, processors are a struggle because you just need so many of them. But it's very, very easy to get basically infinite of them with what I'm about to show you, and it's fun to build. Let's see, I need notice. Alright, which way am I facing? I am looking this way. Notice is to my right, left, it's basically above me, right? It's Corby. Oh my gosh, where is notice? Alright, let's do this right. Alright, so yeah, the main reason the Dyson Spheres is to get interject photons for the antimatter, power everything through ray receivers, and energy exchangers. That way you're not using antimatter fuel rods. It's just kind of a waste of your deuterium or your antimatter. And it's not that big of a deal. It's more annoying on the setup, but less annoying on the sustainability side. I always prefer the sustainability of systems. It's very useful to know that the entire star cluster, you can use the math, and you can tell exactly what you're missing by just mathing everything out. I haven't done the math of every, but you could just calculate what it takes to make 30 universe matrices per second for each ingredient, and then you can just go down the list and say see what you're short of. But that's a last resort thing. Usually I can just look at my production line and tell what's going on. Here's some proof that I'm doing pretty well in the research. So there was one more thing. Oh yeah, the technology. I purposely chose Nose because it's so close. So I didn't have a. So this is a system I found with a planet that's inside the Dyson Sphere. So I built things that require a lot of energy and some energy distribution here. So there's the energy, there's the energy exchangers, and here's the processors. So this is the setup, and this line here makes close to 11,000 processors a minute. So you'll just have to look at it. Keynote is silicon, since I chose it to be the central one, has to be resaturated every 10 buildings, which is actually 10 building links, which is actually 20 buildings. So I'm resaturating once from one side and once from the other side. So that's 4 total tier 3 belts going down the middle. Copper has to be resaturated at the 2/3 point, but I just did it at the halfway point because it's the same amount of effort. Very key note: do not connect your iron line. Cut it right here. One silicon needs to go to the one side or one to the other side. Processors are drawn out, so this keeps you from ever having to build. I mean, this just saves you so many different things for so many different reasons. I worked a lot on finding the perfect processor build, and I think this is very close. So there's probably some better way to do it, but the stations, these are the ones you want. You don't run the intermediary products through here. Don't take up the slot. All right. I think I'm getting close to covering everything I meant to cover. This was way quicker than last time. This is a little redo. But I did realize I was forgetting something, and I forgot what that was. I feel like it had something to do with this. Oh, I guess in the meantime show craziness. All these ships. Ursa's kind of like the central hub. It does most of the exporting. I know Subra has a lot of ships coming in, but most of them are local. So yeah, most of its imports exports are local, not using warpers. Oh, warpers. Oh, I did cover that actually. The make green cubes and then turn them, or import green cubes and turn them into space warpers. Well, this is probably it. I'm gonna sit here and think about it for a little bit longer. Make sure I'm not forgetting anything, but probably safe at this point to call it quits. Because I swear I'm forgetting something. The global tab is also useful for finding out where you're wasting solar cells, because they're just going to keep launching forever until you're out of solar cells, and it'll keep you from being able to build new solar cell or new Dyson spheres as easily. All right, whatever. hope that helped. Man, I just know I'm forgetting something. It's bugging me. Oh well. Have a good one.